remember. I yeah. I remember there was a guy over there at the daycare that I was going to. He still goes to that daycare, but I don't know if he went today. And the only time I had gone to a daycare before the age of 18 was when I was little, when I was like before the age of 10. And so I started going to a daycare, some daycare over here in Far. And there was a guy that looked a lot like Marcos, some guy that I went to school with, and he was my boyfriend when we were in school. And I remember when I was little, they baptized me in Mexico at a church in Mexico. And well, I used to have some of those. And I was like, where did you get your shoes? He's like, oh, some lady from there from the daycare, she sold them to me, but I owe money to her. And the shoes look like when you leave something very old and antique outside in the dust, like in an old shed, like in an old house, and the spider webs and bugs get on the shoes, and they have like lots of dust, and the shoes are like from the 1900s or like the 1800s, like that. And but like, those kind of shoes, like the old fashioned dance shoes that they use for like weddings or like church, those kind, like the ones that they use for tuxedos, like those shoes, the very fancy ones that they use for the tuxedos for the men, those kind. I remember when I was growing up, I used to have some of those, but for girls. I don't even remember. I don't even put the wait. I was laughing. I don't remember if the shoes were like, I don't know, dude, but it was those kind of shoes. Like, those shoes that you wear when you're going to have your first wedding, your first night, and you want to impress a girl when you're dancing? Those kind. But like the very old fashioned kind, like from the 1900s. Like, when you leave some shoes outside in the shed, like where there's like an old storage room, but that is no longer in use for daily use, and there's abandoned clothes and abandoned stuff in there. Okay, like that. So, mi abuelita tenía uno de esos en la house. My grandma had my grandma that I had at that time, the one I was living with, she had one of those. And so I remember there was like a baptism and a wedding, and I don't know what else going on in the family. And I think we used to go to church, or I don't know when the heck I had those kind of shoes, but I know I had those kind of shoes. So there was a guy named Marcos Vallejos at school, but we didn't see each other every day of the year or for like the whole day. We would just see each other at school. And I had never met him before. I had never like even known anything about his family. And we were in a relationship. But this was when I was a teenager, when I was like 13, 12, 14 years old, after the age of 10. And I had gone to a daycare with Jackie Yesenia's cousin, when we were little, before the age of 10. And so Jackie, pues, she's a Pisces from like the time of March, but she's older than me and Marcos. And my dad also is a Pisces, but he's from the month of February, like towards the end of February. And so we were there, and I was at the daycare, but this happened like last month, I think, or the time before last month. And there was a guy who was like 50, 60 years old, and he looks a lot like Marcos. I don't know why, but he's always smiling and he's always working and everything there at the daycare. But I'm not 5 years old or 10 years old or 15 years old or or 20 years old or 25 years old or 30 years old. I'm 31, but I remember my grandma when I was like 15, 20, like around that age before her passing. My grandfather and her bought some shoes with some people that they knew around the neighborhood. And Marcos never met Jackie in front of me and never went to the house. But Jackie, when she was like 15, 20, she started to change a lot. Like a lot, a lot. And never, dude, never. Never did I ever invite Marcos or Jackie to church. Never. And my grandma was the type of person that she was very religious. Like, but when I say religious, I really mean a person who does prayers, who kneels down, who's very afraid of the word of God, who's very like believable and spiritual about the belief of religion. She was very like that. But she was not the type of person to go to church every day with my grandpa. But she was a believer of God. Like one of those people that if you were to talk to her about something, she would be very realistic about the conversations that she would have. Like she'll tell you stories about when she was young, when she was not a mom, when she was barely growing up, and when she started to have children and how her children were when they were young. That's how far the conversations were over here with me and my mom, but because we lived with her. And so my grandpa had some shoes that they bought for him at a yard sale. And it was those kind of shoes, like the one that the other guy had, the one that looks like Marcos. But what Marcos doesn't know is that I used to have those kind of shoes, but when I was little. I don't remember how old I was. I don't even remember. I just remember that I had those kind of shoes. And so we used to go there to M. Rivas around that time that I had those shoes. And we used to go to Payless. And so I would go to M. Rivas and we never had any problems with no one from school or from the house or from the family. Like not even with my dad. But my dad did call the police on us when I was little, when I was like 5. But we never thought anything of it because we were very happy when he wasn't there. So entonces, when I say we, I'm talking about me, my mom, and my dad. And so my mom and dad would pay for the shoes. They would pay for the school supplies. They would pay for the picture day pictures. They would pay for the school field trips. They would pay for the vacations in the summer. They would pay for the clothes and everything. I know I was laughing because my grandpa used to have those kind of shoes. But what they didn't know was that I also had those kind of shoes. But before that, I don't know how old I was or what, but I think I had those kind of shoes when I was little. Y entonces, parece que le platiqué de eso a Marcos. Pero ya no hablé con él de nada, ni me acuerdo de nada. Nomás me acuerdo que we wanted to be together, that he liked me, and that we were trying to get back together, me and him. And we were talking about getting back together, about his mom being there and everything. And when I left the relationship, everything got ruined. Like, not ruined, but we didn't continue with the plan of getting back together. Y como que se hicieron problemas because of that. And so I realized that the problem was really me, you know, but that they didn't want to tell me because they were trying to prevent they didn't want any problems. So entonces me acordé de Larita, porque Larita tenía unos zapatos de esos, de los que usan como para bailar en las bodas o para las fiestas de bodas, así para los chambelanes, los que usan de así como los antiguitos, de los demás antes, de los 1900 o los 1800 clásicos, de esos como para bailar. Larita tenía de esos. No, hombre, ay no. Llegó un muchacho que andaba ahí en el daycare. Se parecía bastante a Marcos. Y tenía zapatos de esos. No, hombre, me estaba riendo porque me acordé. Dije, tanto pedo nomás para eso. Pero me estaba riendo, le No, todavía no los apago, todavía no los acabo de pagar, todavía se los estoy pagando a la señora. Le hago, ¿qué señora? Le hace, una señora que conocemos, todavía se los estoy pagando, todavía no se los acabo de pagar. Y yo me estaba riendo porque Larita era como yo. A él le gustaba todo a su necesidad, ¿verdad? He was the type of person that he used to like the stuff that would benefit him, but he wouldn't think about how used the stuff was. But he would tell her, clean up the shoes, wash them if you have to, and leave them outside drying, or go to the store. But él le decía en español, abuelita, que si iba a usar en los zapatos que ella le compró en el garaje, que se los trajera para pintárselos. O sea, le quitaba lo sucio primero con una garrita y luego los pintaba. Y Larita le decía a Larita, tráeme el polish de ahí de la mesa. Y era como un palito negro, dependiendo el color del zapato. Tenían negro, café, tenían bastantes colores. Y Larita le hace, ve si tráeme el de ese pañuelo de ahí de la mesa. Y agarrábamos el pañuelo y se lo llevábamos. Pero nosotros ya estábamos grandes en ese entonces cuando él tenía zapatos de salir. Pero cuando estábamos chiquitas, no. Cuando estábamos chiquitas usaba tenis, parece que usaba tenis de esos de los que se cierran con... No me acuerdo si era Larita, Abuelita o yo. Pero eran unos zapatos que nomás metías el pie, pero era como un tenis. Y en vez de abrochártelos con la cinta, tenía como un little clip. Como un de ese que se oye así como un de ese que se hace clip. Como, no sé, like a little thingy that gets stuck to the other material. And you just open it and close it. Okay, one of those. Y entonces, but mine were white. And my grandpa's were like some other kind. Y dije, don't tell me you're still with that. Pero I was thinking that I'm stuck with that story since that time. De que we were trying to get back together. We were going to go to church with Magali. And we got stuck with that story. And it never got fixed. Pero because it happened a long time ago. Like a long time ago. Like when we were still students in high school. We were still students in high school when that happened. Y ahorita ya pasaron como 11 or 12 years. No, hombre, se parecía bastante a él. El otro, un señor que andaba ahí. Pero no porque sea de la misma edad ni nada de eso. Pero porque cuando yo lo veo a la cara, me recuerda mucho a él. Entonces le pregunté de los shoes. Le dije, oiga, me gustaron sus zapatos. O no sé qué fue lo que le dije. Le dije, ¿dónde los compró? Dijo, es que una señora me vendió unas playeras y me vendió unos zapatos y sí, todavía se los estoy pagando porque ella siempre me fía a mí la ropa. And I was laughing because my dad was the type of person that he had employees working for him at the house. And they would drive a white van to go and work. And, ¿cómo te digo? And my dad had a lot of things in common with the other guy. Pero mi grandpa no. Grandpa sí agarraba el martillo, los clavos, la madera y todo, y el serrucho y todo ahí afuera del jardín. Y se ponía a hacer mesas, de todo. Pero para que nosotros nos sentáramos afuera. So we could sit outside. So we could be outside with everybody. And he was the type of person que cuando la gente llegaba de visita, siempre le traían algo o le ofrecían algo a él. Y siempre tenía trabajo en la casa. Siempre tenía trabajo en la casa. Afuera en el jardín. Afuera en el jardín o adentro. Polichando los zapatos. Componiendo el toilet del baño. Like, siempre hacían algo productivo en la casa. Siempre, siempre, siempre. Abuelita siempre se ponía a cocinar o se ponía a limpiar y mi abuelito se ponía a regar las plantas afuera o nos ponía a nosotros a regar. Se ponían a limpiar afuera el patio para hacer las fiestas que iban a hacer de la familia o se ponían a jugar lotería atrás. Like, siempre se ponían a hacer algo en la familia. Like, nunca teníamos problemas en la casa. Sí habían pasado problemas, pero no eran de nosotros, eran de otros de la familia. Y entonces, pues, habían como 3 huerquitos que se parecían a Marcos Vallejos, ahí en la neighborhood de donde venimos. Pero nosotros no les hablábamos porque eran como de otros grupitos de personas que se juntaban ahí. Dije, no va a ser que este me vaya a querer meter un chingazo igual que el otro. O sea, ya no quise yo dar mucha confianza. Y entonces, pues sí. Y entonces, me acordé de él por eso. Pero sí dejé de ir para allá porque no me siento a gusto y no me siento bien cuando estoy ahí. Pero trato de no sentirme mal y de salir adelante. I ignore it. I ignore the problem because I'm in a situation where we don't have time to be thinking about stuff like that, you know. No estamos en una situación donde no estamos para estar pensando en esas cosas. Y entonces, estábamos nosotros ahí en el daycare y ya no quisimos ir porque pues habíamos tenido problemas ya anteriormente allá en FAR por haber rentado casas ahí de más. Y ahorita pues no, like, he hasn't came to visit, he hasn't called, he hasn't messaged, and I think he even blocked me on Facebook. But because he's mad or disappointed that when he was there to help, that I didn't accept the help or the support that he was offering. Not that he told me, but obviously he was offering help and support at that time. And so, of course, it bothers him because we know each other since we were in school. And then for you to let a lot of time pass like that, yes, it's important that you have a good relationship with your friends and your family. Porque pues si se ve mal eso, ¿verdad? It does look bad. And so we went over to my dad's one time with my mom, like around that time. And we went like 3-4 times over there. And my mom was arguing and fighting with my dad. And they were upset because mi mom le pescó algo a mi dad. Y entonces, mi dad como que se enojó, ya no quiso abrir la door, ya no quiso estar ahí en la house. Y pues, I guess he was mad. He was crying, he was really upset. I think he's mad at me right now, but he doesn't tell me anything. But it's true, we didn't have any problems when my grandfather was there and my grandmother. But we did start having problems at home when my cousins' friends came in and when we started to have relationships at school. Ever since that time. Because I started to skip class, go tardy to class, do drugs outside of the campus, in the campus, and also because my grades were very low. They don't care about that because that's not their problem, but I'm the one that carries with that problem all the time. So I did need time to think about what I was getting myself into. But I remember my grandpa used to have those kind of shoes, those kind of stuff at the house, and I was really up for the wedding, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into at that time. Pero pues he never came to meet and greet with the family. He never came to help, and he never came to see if he could offer something of support, like nada. But it's okay, I understand. Si no puede, pues no. Pero sí, era más mejor lo que teníamos antes con la familia que ahora. Porque ahora son puros problemas y puros disagreements y puros problems en la casa. So, por eso es mejor cuando uno anda bien con la familia y cuando uno anda bien en la escuela y en el trabajo. Si hay puros problemas en la casa, en la familia y todo, es mejor dejar la amistad y moverse uno de ahí. Porque si no se hacen puros problemas. When a person doesn't like you, whether they're your mom and dad or a friend or a relative or a neighbor or whatever, the person will always say no about accepting you. They might try to accept you, they might have you there, but there will always be a problem. When a person tells you no, it's for a reason. No nomás te van a decir que no nomás por sí, nomás por decirte. When a person tells you no, it's for a reason.